Hello everyone, this is Darth Aries, and I'm here to teach you the basics of Magic the Gathering, such as drawing your cards, shuffling your deck with sleeves, mulligans, and the basics of a turn, as well as types of cards, such as creature cards, sorcery cards, instant cards, etc. So, let's get started, shall we? What you first need are, of course, the magic cards. Let's grab this deck. Each deck has 60 cards. These are very old sleeves. I do not recommend these sleeves right here. Sleeves I do recommend, however, are Dragon Shield sleeves. So, if you see Dragon Shield sleeves and you're learning how to play Magic, use Dragon Shield sleeves. This is just an extra box for my Magic cards. I have dice in here. I have one of the essentials, 80-20, with the life counter. You can tell this is the 20 because it's different from the 19, etc., as it's a flag, signifying that's your max health. To shuffle a 60-card deck, usually you would do like this. You want to lightly hold some of the cards, and then you want to mix them in together by just gently letting them go onto the other cards, and not dropping them like I almost just did. So, you do this a bit, not try to bend the card. And then, this is something I do. I take the deck in half, like this, put them together, like this, so that the bottoms are connecting. Then, you'll push them down like this, together, and then push them down, and that's your deck shuffled. To start a game of Magic, you need to draw your first 7 cards. So if I do this, I'm doing this with one hand because phone. So there's 7 cards. So card, creature card, creature card, creature card, land, creature, land, and land. So, let's go over creatures, lands, basic lands, sorceries. So, let's start off with the basic land like a mountain. So, for example, if I have this in play, and I have a 1-cost red spell, I will tap it. This is how you call tapping. And then you would summon the said creature. For example, if I had this in my hand with this, I would tap it, place the goblin. First, you gotta read its abilities, like haste. Haste allows him to attack immediately. If it's blocked, it deals 1 damage to target creature, blocking it. It's a 1/1, but with this cost right here is a 1 mana cost. It is a red, which means you can cast it with just 1 red mana. But there are other ones, such as this Realm Right, which you can't use red. You would have to use an island. And there are 3 others. There are forests, swamps, why am I forgetting one? Plains. Though these are the basic lands, and these are 1-cost creatures. This one just allows me, let's say I have a red mana and a blue mana. If I need 2 red, 2 red. 2 blue, 2 blue. You can see it's a card effect right here. Enters the battlefield, choose a land, basic land type. Lands you control are the chosen type in addition to those other types. Then there's effect lands like this land, the Azet Boilors, one of my favorites. It enters tapped, so when I say put it down, you put it like this. That means you cannot use it for the turn. However, it does have extra text. When Azet Boil works, enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. This means, technically, if you tap this for mana on this turn without placing any land, you can return it. So, this is my hand, for example. Place this tapped. That means, on turn 3, I will have 3 mana. Instants are cards that you can play at any time. So, let's say someone does, I don't know, tries to play this Rumrite from over here. If you have 4, the 3 colors means that you can lower it with some cards, and blue means you have to have that color no matter what. This one has the effect of counter target spell unless they pay 6. If they don't have 6 mana, this is negated and sent to the graveyard, and not to be used again for the rest of the game. Well, unless they have graveyard retrieval. And this one, card, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. Flash essentially makes sorcery. Let me see if I draw a card. Well, this is something you do on your second turn. If you're going to turn 1, only the player who doesn't go first will draw a card. So if let's say I didn't, this is the card I was actually going to recommend earlier. Goblin Electromancer, a reliable card for Izzet decks. Instant sorceries cost 1 less. Okay, card. Yeah, well, there we go. So when it costs 1 less, so let's say the Mind Static, if you cast it for 3, it's because of this ability from Goblin Electromancer. He allows instant cards to be cost for a much lower price. Guard effect, flying, very helpful to know. Enchantments. These are permanent effects, unless a card says that it's a permanent other than creatures and artifacts. This one, for example, lowers instant sorceries for everyone by 2. This is a bane and a boon, as you get your instant sorceries more often, but also means your opponents can get it much sooner. Well, there's another instant example. Let's say I have an Electromancer with 1 blue mana. Someone tries to play a sorcery or instant, counter non-creature spell. So you can't, for example, counter a Goblin Electromancer. There's draw 2 effects, sorcery. You can only play it on your turn. And so let's say they cast instant on your turn. You cannot use this unless it has flash. You can only use it to start a chain. Basic land. Recordatory Tower. This is another regular land, especially in Izzet decks. You have no maximum hand size, because we like drawing cards a lot. And add 1 generic 1 mana. The generic mana means that it cannot be used, for example, to pay for the full thing of divination, which is like a 1. You can only pay it for the generic 2 that you see up top right. Basically, yeah. There are 3 ways to win a game of Magic. Winning by killing your opponent, who have 20 life, or 40 in others, such as Commander. I'll get that into another time. Milling your opponent's deck, so let's say I have this entire deck. If someone uses a card that puts cards into graveyard, for example, this is my graveyard, I have no cards to draw, I instantly lose the game. No ifs or buts, I'm out of the game. And there's other cards such as alternate win conditions. Alternate win conditions are when the card says you can win by this. Like one example is 13 or less life. If you're 13 exact, you instantly lose the game. Now, let's get to the phases. Phase 1, or I should say upkeep. So, upkeep, let's say I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say I just started a game. Upkeep happens? Well, nothing happens. There's nothing on the field yet. Draw step, I don't get a draw step as I'm player 1. If I'm player 2 and I was chosen second, I will draw a card, for example. Main phase 1, you will place a land, for example, an island. And then if you have any one-cost spells, you would cast them. But since I won't, I automatically end my turn. Then I go to the opponent, where they will be able to draw a card, play a land, and then be able to cast anything as well. Then it would come back to me. Upkeep happens, so let's say this is tapped. Upkeep means that you untap it, and any other creatures, unless it says it stays tapped otherwise by enchantment or card effects. Then you go to your draw step. For example, I just drew a mountain. If I have a land, I will place it on the battlefield, untapped, if it's a basic land, unless said otherwise. Then, let's say I have a creature, which in here, I do not, because I drew garbage. But I do have 2, so I would tap these 2 for a Stinging Spear for 3 damage. But let's go to the mulligan now. The mulligan is when, let's say, like that hand I drew out of no creatures. You would do what is called a mulligan. A mulligan is when you put your cards back into the deck, and then you would shuffle. You can only do this at the beginning of the game. No ifs or buts, only at the beginning of the game. So you would shuffle your deck all over again. And this is in Commanders, and if you're doing friendlies, not tournaments. Not tournaments. If you do try to do a freebie, is what it's called, where you're allowed to draw 7 cards for free, no penalty, that's illegal in tournaments. You are forced to do what the normal mulligan would do. So, if I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I have island, land, a draw 2 card, a mountain, 2 more islands, and a mountain. That's a garbage hand. So I would mulligan again. And this is usually where friendly mulligans will end, and you have to draw regularly. Oh god, no, whatever. You'll shuffle your deck again until you're done. Just don't do it forever, please. 7 times is fine. And then you would normally, unless you're doing friendlies or your friends want to do it that way, normally you would have someone cut your deck to make sure you aren't cheating. Very important to know this, because you don't want cheaters in our community. So let's say I draw another 7 cards. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, another example of mulliganing. 1 cost, really good to start with. 3 costs that only works if I have mana. Card that doesn't work if I have no mana. And the rest are all non-lands, so that would be forced mulligan. Another thing to mulligan, if you get a card with an ability called Miracle. Miracle means that you pay less, but it has to be drawn from your deck. So if you get that in your starting hand, don't do it. So I'll show the example if I get a good draw. Okay. I won't cut it because I'm just trying to make a video. I'll still show the card so you can see it. I'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. There are some bad cards in here, because a 7 cost card and a 6 cost card, they're not ones you would want to start with. But I start off with a island, a mountain, actually a foil mountain, and a elemental. This is a 1 cost, and a Goblin Electromancer. Would I keep this? If you're wanting to be funny, yeah. I mean, this is a keep for me. If I, let's say, draw a good card like an island, that's a pretty nice hand. But, so, let me put the island back. Mulligan. There was an old one where whenever you mulligan, you have to draw 6, 5, 4, etc. They changed that after another infamous thing that happened in a Pro Tour, which is basically like the World's tournaments, where someone lost because they only drew 4 cards, and the opponent didn't even need a mulligan. So they did the London mulligan. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say I have to draw up to 5. I'll have to put 2 cards to the bottom of the library. So I'll put the 2 high cost cards to the bottom of the library. You want to keep them on the bottom of the library. Well, you have to, unless you're shuffling. So I would start instead with a 7-card hand, a 5-card hand. Let's go over abilities. So, one of the cards was Malekizet Paragon, one of my personal favorite cards. He has an ability where I reveal my deck, my top card. So this card usually like this, would be like this. So you'll see it like this on the top. Nothing else will be revealed on the bottom, but only the top card. And its other ability is that whenever I can cast instant sorcery, and whenever I do, I double it. So let's say Quench. If, let's say, someone's throwing 2 spells and I do that, I double it. Pretty pointless unless you're doing burn spells. So, it's a pretty good tip for y'all. Deck building. For deck building, you want to do with cards that you have. So let's say you only have like red-blue. Make a red-blue deck if you want. If you only have blue, make a blue deck. There are multiple colors. You can have all 5 together. 4 of the 5 together. 3 of the 5 together. 2 of the 5 together. Like this deck. And or mono. Dual colors are usually better because they can also fix each other's weaknesses. But I do recommend first starting with mono colors and then branching out. Ways I would recommend are getting foundation packs. Foundations is just a great set anyways. That's how I got into Magic. Drafts, that lets you get cards for free. Well, 25, you have to pay 25 to get into the draft, but you get to learn how to play the game, learn how to use cards you're not used to, and it's an overall fun experience. That's why I enjoy drafting, except for Ether Drift. We don't talk about that one. So, let's say you go to a draft. The minimum is 40 cards, but you can have as much cards as you want, determining if you have all the cards you want. Then you can have a 60-card deck. Make sure to bring sleeves to a tournament, because there will be cards that are flip cards. So, let's say a flip summon that activates when there's no spells cost for a turn. It will flip and gain a new effect. That's why sleeves are so important, because if you see those cards, the opponent will immediately know that's a card I need to deal with when they try to summon it. That's why sleeves, such as these, are important. And that's why there are rules in Magic. My name is Darth Aries. I am the Azit Commander. I hope you all who are learning the Magic got some knowledge on that. And see you all next time. Fella.